Oh, Ellie, sweet, sweet Ellie. I know I sound condescending and very inaccurate, but I think as a fandom, we can agree that every single person who worked on the show failed Ellie. The way she's introduced and where she ends up are two completely different people that watching her journey beginning to end is extremely jarring. Then there's Craig, another jarring character journey that leaves you scratching your head. As an iconic Degrassi couple, but not a couple, we're going to dive into why they would never work and how trauma bonding isn't romance. Before we start, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Sierra. I love talking about Degrassi, but I do make other content. I'm a published author who loves to talk about books and writing, so please check out my other videos if those topics interest you. Anyway, let's get on into the video. Craig is introduced season 2, episode 1, When Doves Cry. He is our focal point for the first 2 episodes. Craig is Joey's stepson and brother to Angie, who's about 4 or 5 years old, roughly. His mom and dad divorced and she married Joey and they had Angie. So some time ago, it's not really specified when, but Craig's mom passed away and Craig lives with his father. The first scene of Craig that we get is with his father, who is visibly pissed that Craig is late for dinner, and his dad even throws his plate, which makes Craig flinch. Over the course of the first 2 episodes, we see Craig abused by his father. Craig visits Angie, and Joey, rightfully so, tells him that he needs to talk to his father because this needs to be handled between adults. And Joey is a mature person who is willing to talk to his dead wife's ex-husband for the sake of the children. But Craig's father has different ideas. He still resents his late wife for leaving him for a used car salesman, as he says to Craig, showing there's a lot of animosity and anger. And he's that type of person who values status that I can see why Craig's mom left him because, yeah, not a good guy. When Craig joins dinner another night, his dad makes his favorite food, the typical abuser tactic to make up for the abuse prior to this exact moment, always trying to make it up with gifts or doing something for the other person to make them feel good. The constant shift in behavior has led Craig to live in a constant state of fight or flight. So we know his amygdala is constantly in overdrive, always preparing for the worst, especially like with him flinching. He is very much used to his father's sudden outbursts of behavior or even probably language, where Craig even has to watch how he speaks to his father in fear of any retaliation or remarks. When Craig mentions his mom, immediately his dad gets quiet and stoic and Craig immediately stops talking. And then his dad, it's like a twitch in his face, and then he goes back to talking about something else. You can see that that is a sore subject. And if Craig even just slips up a little bit, there's always a reaction. It could be minor, it could be extreme, and Craig doesn't know which level of reaction he's going to get from his father. He doesn't know what he's going to get. So Craig's altered behavior is so much surrounded around his dad, and that he really can't be himself. So he can only be himself at school, and even though he can be himself at school, he's still a new student. So this is a very new experience for him. Within these 2 episodes, we can see that the main focus and the safe havens for Craig are Angie and his camera. So when we see a shot of Craig going up to the house, there's the focus on his camera. It's a sentimental piece for him. And later on in the later scene of the episode, we see his dad abusing him, and there's a close-up shot on his camera and a cracked screen. One of the sentimental pieces that is now shattered. Then moments later, when Joey is yelling at him for trying to take Angie and tells Craig to leave them alone, another piece of him that is now kind of shattered in a sense, but not specifically, but there is that moment of fear of losing Angie. So when Craig is with Sean, to me, I feel like this is like the first instance of seeing how depressed, his first stage of manic, mentally and emotionally broken that he can be. And when Sean pulls him or pushes him down, he actually laughs it off as the train is going by and runs away from Sean in the scene. And I feel like that's just the starter of his bipolar disorder. At least the first symptom, the first experience that we get of Craig having a manic episode while also being mentally and emotionally broken because of his father. So overall, who is Craig? He is an emotionally, mentally, and physical victim of abuse, possibly a lot of anxiety, and he's lived in intense fear and constant state of hypervigilance because of his father. Ellie is introduced season 2, episode 3, and immediately she doesn't bow down to Paige when asked to move to have Hazel sit next to her. Ellie and Marco are best friends, but obviously she wants more. And unlike Craig, who was introduced with a traumatic experience, Ellie's is very crucial to her as a character, but in a different way. We see Ellie has like a longing for connection, and at first it seems like the typical teenage girl thing, but I feel like it's a lot more, especially as we see her relationship with her mother. So when Marco comes out, Ellie loses that possible relationship, but she's not delusional about it. And she even suggests that he check out the LGBTQ club, and just really helps him navigate that by saying that she's not going to be his beard, essentially, and she's not going to keep pretending, that he's going to need to find some type of confidence within himself and to be comfortable with his identity. In season 3, we get a look more into Ellie's home life. Her dad, the coward, leaves on another peacekeeping mission, and leaving her with her mom, whom we find out is an alcoholic and is very neglectful. And you're probably wondering, why do I call her dad a coward? First of all, the way that whoever was doing the screenwriting, it really much seems as if her dad constantly leaves on peacekeeping missions, or constantly leaving at least for some type of service. And the thing is, he even tells Ellie that her mom seems okay. She seems good. From that kind of language, you know what kind of state your wife is usually in. You know your wife has an alcohol addiction. She has constant substance abuse. And you're leaving your 13 or 14-year-old child in the care of a woman who is incapable of caring for herself. You, sir, are a coward, because that is not Ellie's responsibility. That is yours as a husband, and you're literally ditching your family. For what? I get you want to protect your country and you want to do what you want. You do what you want to do to save and protect your country. But your family comes first as a husband. If you had no business of being a father or a husband, you should have never gotten married, and you should have never had Ellie. That is a coward move. So Ellie is extremely vulnerable, and the only stable person to protect her is constantly gone, leaving her alone. So we see that Ellie self-harms as a way to cope with the pain, depression, and the loneliness, and she covers for her mom as if protecting her, doing the one thing that her parents have never done for her. So when her dad calls, she says that mom is okay, and clearly she's not okay. We also see that she takes care of her despite the lack of care that she gets from her. I need y'all to remember this. So Ellie essentially is a selfless character, and more than likely to the detriment to herself. She'd rather pretend than admit at first that she's hurting and needs help, especially to Paige, because we all know how Paige is. Craig and Ellie really had their start, I would say season 4, episode 14, when they're both at a meeting for those who struggle with their mental health, and they really connect over their mental illnesses and struggles. So when Ashley found out that Craig cheated on her prior to the therapy group, Ellie didn't like him, obviously, being a good friend. And then when Ashley forgave him, Ellie let it go. So Ashley leaves for London and breaks up with him via email. So during that summer, Ellie and Craig became best friends, and now she wants to throw him the best birthday party. And she starts to have a huge crush on him. So when Ellie thought that Craig would feel the same, he said he only saw her as a friend. Ultimately, he gets back with Manny. Y'all can fill in the gaps of Craig's dating history. We all know that. She even protects him from the truth when she gets the email, which immediately Craig is pissed about. Ellie feels the need to protect him and care for him. That attention was pulled from her mom when she moved in with Sean, redirecting her focus to anything and anyone else. And with her mom in AA now, she doesn't have anyone to feel protective over, and that feeling doesn't simply go away. So with Craig calling her just a friend, she steps back into that mode of caring for someone, even if it means hurting herself. She'd rather be part of Craig's life and heartbroken rather than be by herself and heal herself. So self-sabotaging at its finest. This continues on with Manny in the band and Craig doing drugs. Ellie becomes very territorial and overbearing, but Craig doesn't clock it or holds her accountable or holds himself accountable for the self-destructive behaviors. Craig is also self-sabotaging a lot. His brain is used to a lot of chaos via the trauma from his dad, and that environment of instability can't be erased by living just with Joey. Joey can do his best, but it's not going to go away. It was only a matter of time that he would engage in behaviors that mimicked his upbringing. Craig wants to be normal, but there is no normal. Especially for a teen, he doesn't understand that just yet. And plus being diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I think that was also part of could lead to depression, or at least depressive symptoms. So it kind of feels as if he has all of these negative parts of him, quote unquote, that he can't get rid of. So like having a dead mom, a dead dad, an abusive dad, bipolar disorder. And this doesn't excuse him for cheating, but there seems to be a pattern of negative self-talk and self-fulfilling prophecy. So if Craig doesn't feel worthy of something good, then he self-sabotages. He is aware of his choices, but in deep denial, furthering that negative belief that he isn't worthy and that everyone around him leaves. But despite him keeping Ellie at a distance, she never left. And Craig doesn't know what to do with that. They seem to have a very much an anxious and avoidant attachment that stems from their upbringings, plus unresolved trauma, plus ongoing healing, being teenagers, young adults with completely underdeveloped brains. They are stuck in this constant battle, and Craig's constantly fighting Ellie to stay back, and she's constantly fighting for him and to let her in. So, in conclusion, I think this is kind of why it's very easy to chalk Ellie up as a pick-me girl, but when you really dig deep, she's always been a scared little girl who is terrified of losing people and making those connections, so she overdoes it by being overprotective because she's never had anybody to protect her. And it doesn't excuse for how she treated Manny. Manny was very much, in my opinion, a mirror for a lot of the girls on the show. This just gave me a video idea, so let me know in the comments if you would love to see that. So with Manny, she's showing a lot of the girls what they actually look like, and no one really liked the truth whatsoever, including Ellie. She did not want to see that Craig was the problem and always will be as long as she has him in her life. So when things didn't get that far with Jesse, she went back to her safety net. Yet her safety net is very much a big fat hole. Craig, on the other hand, often dissociates from his intimate partners in one way or another, constantly in the fight or flight response. So he ends up repeating his cycle until he gets out of his own way. Girls like Ellie will only scare him. What's interesting to me is that he never really embraced that nurturing side of Ellie when he clearly longed for his mother. We see him constantly go to the grave, missing his mother, talking about his mother, even to his dad. But maybe somewhere along the line that maybe since she had passed, he felt abandoned by her in any type of way, especially for leaving his dad for Joey. Maybe there are some other things that we don't know, but yet Craig has never shown resentment for her. Like, we never seen him talk about her in a negative way. He only struggles with his dad, and he loves Angie. So it's not as if like he hates having a half sibling from another side of the, by another man. So it's nothing like that. So it's very interesting that he doesn't run into Ellie's arms, but maybe there's a lot of stuff that is that Craig is struggling with that is very hard to conceptualize and identify where a lot of his triggers are and where a lot of his anxiety comes from when it comes to building those kind of relationships. But that's all I have for this video. If you like it, be sure to like, comment below what you think about Craig and Ellie and their weird relationship, not relationship. And until next time, stay magical. Bye.